It's job hunting season again. It's a peak season for getting that recruitment, for getting the ideal job. How do you stand out? How do you make sure you get the job you want? Even better, how do you maximize your chance of getting the ideal job that you really want? This is what we're going to talk about today, the secrets. Alright, it's actually a peak season for looking for job for people who are going through career transition, for graduate who are looking for the first job in their life. There are actually several seasons that we can call it a peak season in Australia. However, I am doing this at this particular time is because my clients either from China, Asia, or if you are in Europe or if you're in America, it's all a peak season for graduates. A lot of the graduate programs are open now. However, this is a general video for whoever is looking for a job. It's also applicable if you are looking for that graduate job, looking for that first job. So let's get started. So after it's almost 6 years now that I'm working full-time as a career coach, working with almost 300 clients. These are the things that I realize is really going to help you maximize your chance. And it's actually concluded from things that people done wrong, the mistakes that they made. So that I will go from that angle to help you decode how to actually maximize it. All right, the first one is you start preparing now. It's never too early and it takes time. I'll break it down. I always have clients coming to me. Next week is going to be the deadline of the job they really want, or they just graduated, or they have graduated this month, or graduated 3 months ago, and they have no idea how to look for a job. They have never had any work experiences, or they have never worked in any professional field related to the field that they are working in. They wanted to work in. Too late. I'm not saying you won't be able to find it. Of course you can, but it's best to prepare early. I'll give you one example of a client that I took this month. She already got an offer with that before graduating from Ernst & Young in Hong Kong, even though she's studying in Australia. Why? Because she started working in internships in different companies, in different some in Australia, some in Hong Kong. First year when she was in undergraduate course, was that like 3 years. She worked in 3 different interns, minimum 3. There was one summer she did 2. And that's how she got that offer now, because she was preparing herself all the way along, not just work experience, but also how to express herself every time she go into a recruitment process. That's the difference, and that's how you can possibly have by the end of your study, or even if you just started a new job or you're about to switch your jobs. It's never too late, and it's never too early to prepare from now on. Prepare on the skills, having that clarity of course, what's the ideal job that you want to look for, and what kind of skills, experiences, competences, and soft skills the employers are looking for, and you can start preparing now. Some of the things you may have to accumulate over time. That is exactly why you want to start now. And other stuff, you want to practice on how you can better show you have that, right? It could be preparing interviews, it could be preparing how to negotiate, how to persuade, all of those things. Or it could be you asking for that opportunity to actually work in an ideal project with people, with the ideal clients that you want, right? So what I want to say is, it's never too early, but if you really need a minimum, a bare minimum, I'll give you a timeline, a bare minimum in terms of preparing and looking for a job. 3 months. Actually, the statistics by Australian job market is 3 to 6 months, but with my clients, 3 months is the bare minimum for looking for a job. There are 5 things that are listed out there. I will put it down as well for you to better see it. First thing is tailor-made your resume for your ideal job. Again, I keep going back to this. If you're looking for a job, you're not going to randomly just look for whatever's out there. That's not what you want. Maybe you're desperate, maybe you're under financial pressure, but eventually you're going to regret that if you just jump into whatever you can find. You want to know what's the ideal job that's suitable for you. And you can tailor-made your resume for that. We're not just going to use one resume for 5 different industries for like 200 different jobs. Very low efficiency. So tailor-made your resume and for your ideal positions. That's going to take about plus minus 1 week. Step number 2, prepare and practice competency assessments and enhance your cover letter. Also prepare your behavioral questions. Why? Because the first step after you've made an apply, you may be invited to some kind of assessments, right? And if you have already applied for a job, you will know what I'm talking about. There's so many types of assessments. It could be personality, it could be verbal, it could be numerical, testing your numbers, it could be testing your logic, decision making, it could be testing how you behave towards different situations. And you want to practice that. You want to understand what is it really testing you, and you want to perform the best before you can present yourself, because in a way that you're showing what you're capable as well. If you didn't prepare, chances are you're not maximizing your possibility of getting that job. And another thing is enhancing cover letter and preparing behavioral questions. I'm talking about the questions that's part of the application process. They would, in a box, ask you things like, can you tell me an example that demonstrated your leadership, your organizational abilities, how you can work under pressure, what's the biggest challenge that you can overcome? I'm talking about this kind of contextual, that's something you have to write it down. Or nowadays, people ask a question and ask you to shoot a video. And if you're going to do that, you need a little structure, because that's like a little speech, like a little presentation that you're making. We need a structure, we need why you're doing that and the outcome that you're showing, right? So again, these things need practice. And I suggest minimum 1 week again. And thirdly, so now you have your cover letter, your resume, you have some answers to some of the behavioral questions. You're going to make application. So you're going to apply through multi-channels, online, offline, network, people you know, all the way that you can possibly think of, and be creative as well. I've mentioned so many times that if you're just only applying online, it's very passive and it's not the most efficient way. Utilize all the possible channels that you have all the resources to maximize your chances. And again, make sure you're applying not only the ordinary ones, but also your ideal jobs, your ideal roles, the roles that's going to make you thrive when you work, make you want to jump out of bed. Make sure that you're utilizing your good skills and you're going to have career progression. That's your ideal role. This process is going to take 4 to 6 weeks minimum. If you have applied for a job, you would know normally it lasts longer. However, that's like the bare minimum. And the next step is, you made your application, you did all the things you can. The next step is, chances are you're finger crossed waiting for that interview invitation. So before that happens, you're going to prepare how you will answer questions in the interview, right? What I would suggest to do is really customize your interview. Have interview training for your best performance, for your best expression, articulation of things that you're going to express. Plus, at the same time, you can network. Try to get to know more about the industry you're trying to get into and expand your network that could possibly be working in your ideal company, in your industry, in the industry that you want to work into, and they may or may not boost your opportunities of getting into that job. Interview training is so important. Again, it's practice. Please do practice. What you think you're gonna talk so fluently versus when you actually go in so tense, nervous, looking at your interviewer's eyes and blanked out. So many times it happens. Do practice, please. Have a look of yourself when you're actually answering questions. Record it. Have a look and review yourself. And next, so this, again, the process of preparing for interview and networking, it could be 2+ weeks. Minimum 2 weeks, it could take longer. I mean, just practicing interview may take 2 weeks, but networking is an ongoing thing. I would strongly suggest it to be ongoing, and it's never too early to do that. And that's it. So that's the breakdown of the bare minimum 3 months of the things that you can do. Of course, there are other things you can do, which is highlighted in my program, but these are the essential steps that you want to do. That's tip number 1, which is prepare. And tip number 2 is know the process and practice. Again, I briefly touched upon this on the previous point, which is actually there's an ancient saying from Sun Tzu, which says, to defeat your enemy, you need to know your enemy and know yourself. It really surprised me, a lot of the applicants, they don't know what the process of recruitment is, or they didn't even ask what's the process like, what's involved, what are the assessments will be like, what's just general, how long is it going to take, and what is it like. Have some understanding of that. I mentioned before, they are generally big companies. We're talking about international companies. They generally have this kind of process. First, you need to make an online application with your resume and cover letter, answering some of those questions I mentioned before. And the next round could be you're invited for some assessments. Again, this assessment depends on the role you're applying. Verbal, numerical, personality, logical, decision making, all sorts of questions. Practice them. You can find them online and you can practice them. And the next step will be you probably will be invited for either telephone interview. Sometimes nowadays, do watch a video that I made on how to win the battle with artificial intelligence when they are involved in the process of selecting candidate. Anyway, so the next step, it could be the asking you questions, and they would ask you to record a video. And this is the step a lot of my clients didn't go through before they come to me. That's why we need to prepare. So it could be interview via a recorded video, or it could be interview online, or it could be interview with some back and forth answered questions online, or it could be just actual interview. Next step, again, it could be assessment center for big companies. Assessment center is gathering people together on 1 day or 1.5 days. Depends, and the process could be there are several things involved. It could be one-on-one interviews with several people, or it could be one-on-one on professional questions, on behavioral questions, on soft skill questions, and there could be group situations as well. Group meeting, group presentation, group exercises, case studies. So the interviewers are trying to see how you're behaving with different people in a team, in different scenarios, maybe under pressure, maybe it's just discussion, maybe you have to make a presentation, maybe sometimes somebody has to stand up to be a leader to make decisions. How are you behaving? And they're assessing you, everything you do within that process. Alright, so all these things you can prepare, and you can make sure that you're performing the best. A lot of the times, it's not the best to be the one that's most outspoken, neither be the one that's so quiet and not making any contribution. So it's subtle. You want to do want to make a contribution, but you also want to highlight what you're good at in those situations as well. So goes back to what I was saying. Knowing that little process, you want to practice and prepare as much as you can. Not going in barehanded or bare-minded, not even know what's going to happen. That's going to definitely maximize your chance. Thirdly, the third tip is, it's a very interesting story. It's a very interesting question I would always ask my client to think, which is going to add value to the whole process of them looking for a job. Or even sometimes you need to self-promote within a company, or you need to go through a similar process of convincing your manager's manager, or other department's manager when you're going through an internal promotion. The trick is, the whole recruitment process, all the questions and assessments and all these activities you went through, the focus is not on you. It's about them. It's about what they want. Very simple. It's easy to see people when they're fighting or persuading for something. It's about, I did this, I do that, I want that, I want blah, blah, blah. It's all about I. However, if you can talk, I know you want this, I know this team want that, I know you as a manager, you would prefer A, B, C, D, E, and I have A, B, C, D, E. It will be much more convincing. So a key question I would ask my client, which I'm giving you as a free tip, is to think every question, every assessment you do, think about, what do they want from this? Why are they designing this? What are they really trying to get out of you by asking this? By doing this assessment, by interacting with you in that way. And if you have the answer and wrap it up with the things that you're good at, you have experiences, you have a much higher chance of winning, because you do understand where they're coming from. You're giving the answer they want together with what you're good at. All right, that's a powerful one. So those are the 3 ways that maximize your chance of getting hired in the job hunting season, to stand out from the competition, to really penetrate through the heart, to the heart of the recruiter of what they want, presenting them what you have. All right, great, guys. So all the steps that I went through is actually part of our online academy, which is an ongoing course that people can go through to really learn from all the learnings and have interactive interactions, which is going to be launched in November 2019. Do reach out to me if you do want to learn from that. It's a great course. I love it so much because it's basically the essence of all the coaching learnings and all the coaching all the useful things from all my clients for the past almost 6 years. Anyways, I hope you all the best. Do reach out to us. Do book that one-on-one chat, free chat, if you do want to know more about how we can help you or just want to talk about your concerns about your career. Link is down below. Leave a like, subscribe to the video. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.